everyone, it's Abby with the Bead Place and beadplace.net, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this really fun pair of customizable Circle of Life earrings. Let's get started.
The tools we'll be using today are a flush cutter and 2 chain nose pliers.
All the materials and tools that we're using today can be found at beadplace.net, and the links will be in the description below.
The materials we're using are a variety of colors of size 11 and size 8 seed beads. We also have little decorative metal spacers. We have a pair of earring findings. We have 2 2-foot pieces of 24 gauge wire.
26 would work just as well.
I also have a strand of 3mm fire polish beads in a color that complements my mixture of other colors. And then I have some jump rings and some charms. The frames that we're using to create our earrings are our pewter circle blanks. They are the same circles that we use for our Tree of Life tutorial, and we'll link that down below.
We're going to start out by securing our length of wire onto the bottom of one of our rings. Now I have a 24-inch piece of wire here, and you can use a longer one if you plan on filling more of the circle than what we did here, but 24 inches is enough to just do a little bit in the middle.
I'm holding my wire so that about 1 inch of it is coming off of the link right where I want to lash it on. So I'm going to use this inch of wire to start my lash. So I'm going to coil it around about 5 times. You can just use your fingers for this. If it's easier to use the pliers, you can do that as well. I just find that it's a bit easier for me to use my fingers, and I have a bit more control that way. So now that I've wrapped it around, I'm going to take my pliers in and tuck the tail end down. Just make sure the tail end lands on the back of our earring. Our next step is to start adding beads. I like to start with a size 11 bead. I think it's a little bit easier to get a uniform and straight pass with the beads using the smaller beads first. So what we're going to do is string these beads onto the end of our wire just until we have enough to fill in this little area down at the bottom where we've lashed. I've decided that 15 beads is just the perfect amount for me for where I want to start my wire wrapping. Notice that both sides of the pass of beads have wire that are coming on top of the link. That's important for our first pass so that it looks like it's on the front. Now what I'm going to do is start to coil this side onto the link. So I'm just going to hold it tight and bring my wire around and push it down so that my coils are tight. And just keep lashing. You want to keep wire wrapping until you have 5 passes. Now that we have a tight coil of 5 passes of wire, what we're going to do is take the wire from the back and bring it through the hoop so that it's in the front. And from here on out, we're going to be kind of zigzagging back and forth from the front to the back.
I'm now going to string 8 of the 3mm fire polish beads onto my wire and make sure that they fit right in this little gap. Now what I'm going to do is wrap the wire around the front and coil on 5 times just like we did before.
Notice how on the bottom of the yellow wrap of beads, the wire is coming from the back, and the top, the wire is coming from the front. One trick that I can share with you to make it look like it's wired completely across the front is I like to just kind of take my fingernail or even my plier tips and just push these beads forward. And then that way it pushes the beads forward and they don't look like they're being zigzagged across. So now that we have the wire lashed on the other side of the yellow strand of beads, we need to make sure that the wire is coming back on top. So we've brought the wire through the hoop so that we're coming from the back to the front. Next, I'm going to string these bright blue 11s. I like to kind of vary the sizes so that it adds interest to your earrings. Now remember, you want to keep your bead strands inside the hoop instead of on top of the hoop. So make sure that they end on the inside. And now what we're gonna do is wrap around the front of our link again. Now after that's wrapped, we'll remember to go in from our other side and push forward so that those beads kind of come forward and they all look like they're in the front. Also remember to bring that wire through the loop so that it's coming in front on our next pass.
Next, I've decided to use a row of hot pink 8s, and I'm just going to wrap them on the same way I did before, coiling 5 times. Now, if you decide that you want to do 2 rows of 8s together or a larger bead, you can wrap more than 5 times to make space for your strands. Or if you're doing a few rows of 11s together, just wrap fewer times. It's totally up to you. 5 is just a nice average spacing to make sure that the lines go right on top of one another.
So now I'm going to have some fun and mix it up a little bit. What I'm going to do is mix some of these turquoise 8s and some of these beaded beads. That way we get some more interest into these already wild earrings. So again, I'm going to pull my wire from the back to the front so that those beads are a bit more visible, and I am going to string 2 of these little turquoise 8s and then 1 of the metal beads. I'm going to do 2 more of the 8s and then 1 metal bead, and I'm just going to work back and forth like that until I fill the space. So I've completed my pattern, but there's just a little bit too much beadwork on here for me to wrap it flat and inside the loop. So I'm just going to take this last bead off, and I'm not really going to worry about it too much that I'm starting with 2 turquoise beads and ending with 1. I think that kind of adds to the interest. So no worries there if your pattern doesn't work out. And again, we're going to wrap around just like we did before 5 times and carry on. Now after I've done at least 1 row of every color I plan on using, what I like to do is add a couple of rows of colors that I've already used, and that kind of just makes it all look cohesive. It's not 100% necessary, but it's just a trick that I like to use to make it look a bit more polished. So after you've finished adding your last color on and wire wrapping 5 times to secure it, we're going to flip it over and trim the tail end, making sure we're trimming it on the back side. We're going to use a flush cutter and trim as close as we can, and then go in with our chain nose pliers to tuck the tail end down and make sure that it is completely smooth and secure. Using my chain nose pliers, I'm going to open this bottom loop of my earring finding. You always want to open it sideways like this. So after the earring finding is open, we're going to slide the top part of our earring through it and make sure that the front is actually the front. And then we're going to use our chain nose pliers to close it in that same way that we opened it. So pull it open sideways and close it sideways. Make sure it's closed all the way just by kind of checking from a few angles, and we have the first part of our earring.
So we can leave these earrings as is, but as you can see with a lot of movement, what happens is they kind of fall off kilter, which, you know, can look pretty cute, but if we want to kind of make sure that they stay balanced, what we can do is add a charm to the bottom so that it weights it down evenly. So we've left just a little space here at the bottom. The jump ring that we'll use to add the charm can't really go too far, so it'll stay even and centered, and it'll add an extra design element.
So with these earrings, we could use a variety of themes. I kind of think they look like Easter eggs. So if you celebrate Easter, you could use, you know, a variety of crosses, just really anything that you think of when you think of springtime. So you could use, you know, birds, flowers. You could use a goddess to kind of go along that route of spring and fertility and all that. You could even take them in the direction of, you know, celebrating life using a sugar skull. and celebrate Dia de los Muertos, or you could take the classic route and just, you know, make them a little bit more everyday by using some spikes or crystals. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to pick a spike and I'm going to make it a little bit more mixed metal. So on the fire polish that I've used, there's kind of like a rose gold wash. So I think I'm going to go with the gold spike. Oh, maybe do I want the crystal? No, I want that gold spike. Okay, so I'm going to add some gold spikes to the bottom and I'll bring you along with me. So holding the break of my jump ring at 12 o'clock, I have one of my pliers straight up and down and one of my pliers is sideways. I'm going to use my sideways pliers to open my jump ring. Then I'm going to place the spike or whatever charm you've chosen into the jump ring and then attach the jump ring into the bottom of our beaded link. I'm then going to bring the pliers in and close my jump ring in the same way that I opened it.
Now when we're closing a jump ring, you want to make sure to look at it from a couple of different angles to make sure that there are no gaps. And once we've closed it the way it should be closed, we have a fun pair of earrings.
So my question for you is, what kind of charm would you use on these earrings? Do you think you'd keep it a bright, fun, springy theme? Or would you do something a little bit more dramatic or more neutral? Let me know in the comments below. And there will be lots of charm and color choices available, and you can find the links in the description below.
If you enjoyed watching this video, please give us a big ol' thumbs up. If you have any questions or just want to say hey, drop them in the comments below. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. And thanks so much for watching.